Heads up, I might be struggling a little bit. It is very, very hot, and I want to talk about manga that I recently read. So I might be taking a little bit of a water break here and there. So in one of my recent videos, I went to check out a brand new library, which was the Coronado Public Library, which was amazing. If you haven't watched that vlog, I highly recommend you do so, especially if you live in San Diego County, because that library, chef's kiss. It had an amazing manga selection, not only for teens, but also for adults. And these were the books that I checked out and read, and I'm gonna let you know some of my thoughts. So the very first book that I want to talk about is actually a graphic novel and not a manga. This is Girl Juice by Benji Nate. Benji Nate is a Puerto Rican comic artist. What drew me into this particular series was definitely all the bright colors as well as the artwork. It's just so fun. Honestly, just look at it. It's so pretty, and then the spine too. That's like my favorite shade of green, as you guys know. So once I started flipping through, I was like, this looks pretty fun. The best way I can describe this series is if you took Sex and the City and Girls, like those HBO series, and just made it more Gen Z friendly, I would say. It has an ensemble cast, so you have a group of 4 girls who are all roommates. They're not the best of friends. First off, you have the lead of most of this comic, which is the blonde girl right here. She is extremely sex positive. All she can think of is like practically like getting laid and how to trick the system and trick people. And she is honestly so chaotic. There's this whole scene depicting the girls going camping, and she's basically, stripped of everything. Like, she doesn't have her makeup, she doesn't have her party clothes, she's out in nature, her phone doesn't work. And she's stuck wearing glasses, and her acne is showing. And even in that vulnerable state, she still finds a group of male campers and decides to go with them. But then she's like, yeah, they're just like, not for me. Let's go. Like, it's just so ridiculous. And then we have this one right here. As you can see, she's super cute. She is a very reserved and more mature girl, but her thing is she fell in love with a clown. So she has a bit of a clown fetish. Yeah, she's just very sexually attracted to clowns. She also really likes their aesthetic as well. So throughout this comic, you just see her outfits, which are super cute. They're fashion forward, but with a hint of whimsy, which I personally really like. She brings a clown home one day, and that is her boyfriend. And she's like, what the fuck is this? And they're just supposed to accept that Nana's boyfriend is a clown wearing clown clothes and clown makeup, yeah. And then the other 2 girls in the series, they're also very entertaining. She's like the mother of the group, very just straightforward, like, hey, this is what we're going to do. And her girlfriend is an influencer. She's a YouTuber. Much like me. And the other story in this series is actually about her. So she finds herself in a paranormal situation, and when she was streaming, her audience notices that there's a figure that that came out of her room. As crazy as that sounds, she becomes viral. People are like, what the hell is going on? She starts hitting these YouTube view numbers that she has never done so before. So instead of actually, getting the whole thing sorted out, getting an exorcism or having someone like a professional put things over, she decides to milk it for the views. So she becomes so jaded by all the attention that her channel is suddenly getting, as you can see, that basically that paranormal activity was fueled by her greed. And more chaos unfolds. So personally, I found Girl Juice to be such an entertaining read. I highly recommend it. It's definitely very over the top and ridiculous at times, but if you just want a very fun read that focuses on female friendship and female relationships, I feel like this one's a very fun and quick read, and the illustrations are all colored. The outfits are amazing. The girls are chaotic. So I really do recommend this. It was really, really good. The second series that I want to talk about is I Think Our Son is Gay, which is an incredible series. I honestly regret not reading it sooner because I think it has become one of my definitely in the top 10 like comfort manga series. Like it's just that nice of a read. So if you're someone that enjoys a slice of life comedy, I would say, that just feels very heartwarming and that deals with, motherhood as well, because the protagonist of this series is a 40-year-old mother. I feel like you will really enjoy this series. I ended up checking out volumes 1 through 3, which is all that the library had. I definitely need to read volumes 4 and 5 because I am obsessed with this series after reading it. So the premise of this manga is truly very simple. It's in the title, so the mother thinks her teenage son might be gay. That is all. But the scenarios portrayed in this series are just adorable, and the mother is so cute. She is just so happy to see her teenage son happy, and she wants him to come out to her when he's ready. Although her teenage son is so bad, just trying to portray himself as straight. You often see him fumbling, saying boyfriend instead of girlfriend. And if there is an attractive, celebrity on TV, he tends to like agree with the mother that he's handsome, and then he kind of like catches himself. It's like, no. I mean, he's cool, and he just fumbles so much. And the mother just catches on to him very quickly, but instead of making things awkward or forcing him into coming out, here's one of the moments where the son is just like, oh my god, I can't believe I said that, and he just freaks out so easily, which is absolutely adorable to see. This is over dinner, and you can also see her husband right here, and he's basically, I feel like what a lot of older Japanese, like traditional Japanese people are like, that they feel like they can't understand, the LGBT community, that they're a little bit odd, but ultimately, like, we know love is love. They want the same things. They're not as hard to understand. Okay, you do see the mother clash with the dad a few times, not in a very aggressive way, but just calling him out on some of his opinions that, might make his son feel more insecure. And he obviously doesn't catch on to some of these like clues that the son might be gay, but she just wants to create a very safe environment for her son so he can keep learning about himself, and when the day comes, like comfortably come out to both of his parents. And here we have the mother just being super supportive and sweet. Like, she is honestly the ideal mother. I love her. She's not perfect by any means, but she really does care about her two sons, and she wants to learn more about him as well as the LGBT community. Here's another very sweet moment where she's trying to comfort her teenage son because he's trying to conform to Japanese societies. And she's basically trying to let him know that, if he doesn't want to have a family and follow a very traditional path, like, you don't have to go that way. You can do your own thing. Another thing that I really enjoyed, and let me try to find this scene, the younger brother is me. He is a very quiet, stoic kid, but just like the mother, he knows that the brother is gay. He hasn't said anything, but like he knows. Like, he's much smarter than what people give him credit for. He's very perceptive, which just adds to like the comedic value because he's so blunt. Here we go. That's the little brother right there. And here, the mother as well as the teenage son, they've discovered that the little brother has a journal where he reviews stuff, very similarly to how I have a journal where I just keep track of what manga I've been reading and review it for myself. So he's just scribbling away in his journal and just, he does this for himself. He doesn't really want to publish this. He doesn't want other people to know about like what he's up to. He just, he does it for himself. I respect that. You can see his facial expressions. He's like effortlessly cool in my opinion and so blunt. If you ask him a question, he'll answer, but he'll literally just keep it to that. He's not going to elaborate further. I thought the series was super cute. I cannot recommend it enough. Like the artwork's also like very like round and soft. And personally, I feel like the art style just kind of adds on to how like sweet the series is. But yeah, the mother is sweet, the sons are sweet, seeing their interactions in high school with some of their classmates, and also the boy that the teenage son has a crush on, like this guy right here. It's just so cute. So if you're looking for a feel-good read that centers around family and also has a protagonist that is in her 40s, I highly recommend I Think Our Son is Gay. I thought it was the cutest read, and yeah, I feel like more people definitely need to give this one a read. And the very last book is Secondhand Love. This is a manga series that's very interesting because it is written by a female mangaka, but she specifically did not want to publish her work in shoujo or like josei muke magazines, like for older women. She wanted to publish this in a magazine where she didn't have to conform to what the editors for that magazine wanted. And this is like an older collection of her works. In the interview that's on the back of the book, she specifically mentions that she didn't want to feel constrained by all the rules that a lot of like female manga magazines had. She still wanted to write about, female stories and female problems, but that she felt confined by and limited by these like magazines for women. I feel like that could be a conversation for another video, because sometimes I know I tend to wonder a lot why certain series like The Apothecary Diaries and even like a Skip and Loafer that have a female mangaka, that when you start reading the story, it feels like it's written for a female, market in mind, end up being serialized in like shonen and seinen magazines. So I've always wondered why that reason is. I know there's more politics and the editors come into play quite a lot, but maybe some female mangakas like Yamada Murasaki feel limited by these, manga magazines, these shoujo and josei manga magazines. So it just got me thinking, and maybe I can definitely, do some more research and exploration so I can do a whole separate video on that topic. But it was something that really stood out to me because of the story. She is basically writing about the other woman, the mistress in their relationships. And the reason why she even wrote a book from the perspective of the mistress is because her husband cheated on her. And she describes in the same interview that at first she really resented the other woman. Like, how could her husband throw away, their years of marriage, the family that they created together, to be with another woman? So she found herself really resenting the woman that, ruined everything. But then she started thinking about, what they wanted, what the mistress wanted. And she found herself really sympathizing with the mistress, because ultimately both of them wanted to be loved. They wanted to be taken care of. They wanted to feel secure in a relationship. Obviously, the mistress is still in the wrong, but the two women just had much more in common than she initially thought. So she created a series of stories that, depict how the other woman feels. So the longest story in this book is titled A Blue Flame, which is very tragic. I will give you a trigger warning that I will put on screen, because there is a certain part of this story that's just very iffy. but the rest of the story is just drawn so organically. I mean, I'm not gonna say I fully sympathize with the mistress, because I've also dealt with cheating, and at least at this point in time, I just don't feel like I can fully sympathize with the person that ruined that relationship. Like, that takes a level of maturity that I feel like I just haven't really hit yet. I found it really interesting, really raw, and also really vulnerable as well, because you just see how she is basically just trying to be like every other woman, but she knows that she's messing up. She sees the world around her. She eventually does find the wife and the man's kid as well. So she knows she's in the wrong, but she still, how could something feel so wrong but also feel so right at the same time? She battles with her inner thoughts because she wants to be taken seriously. She wants to be a strong woman, but at the end of the day, she just doesn't want to feel alone. And you get a lot of illustrations like these and a lot of her inner thoughts too, which I just found very fascinating. And the art style is just beautiful. I loved her art style. I feel like I enjoyed all the stories in this book. This is the second one, titled Secondhand Love. This protagonist is a little bit younger, and her history with cheating, it goes way back because she discovered that her father cheated on her mother, and she always resented her father for doing that. But then now as an adult, she found herself as the mistress. So once again, you get to see her inner thoughts and her battling, with the idea of now becoming the woman that caused her to hate her father so much. And it's just a very interesting read. I know I've said this a lot, but I just never, I don't know, I've read so many manga series, including some that do involve cheating. I mean, we have Even Though We're Adults, which is a Yuri. Also, Run Away With Me Girl, which is another Yuri. Even Pink Candy Kiss is heading that direction as well. But you end up rooting for them, despite the fact that they're committing infidelity because of, if you know about LGBT rights in Japan, they're just much different to some Western countries, and you get a lot of people conforming to Japanese norms and getting married because of the societal pressures. But there's still, you can't just turn off who you're attracted to. So in that way, in that regards, I can see why so many people do cheat in order to fulfill their, desires for the sex that they're attracted to. In this case, everyone's straight. So it's not like they were going behind their spouse's back to, in the husband's case, to have a gay relationship. This is a man that was married with a kid and still wanted more. So I don't sympathize with the husband. So if you want a more serious drama about a subject matter that you don't often see portrayed with beautiful, beautiful artwork, I highly recommend this one. I think it was a really good read, and it's not a title that you get to see often in social media. Also, the interview with the author in the back is really interesting. So those were all my recent library reads. I will be heading to Japan for 2 months, so my reading is going to be looking a little bit different because I'm gonna have to make the switch from physical books to pretty much all digital. I might buy a few books over there. Obviously, they'll be in Japanese, so I have to read them with a translating app. I do have access to Comics Plus, which is an online catalog run by libraries that has manga, graphic novels, and other comics. So I think I'm going to be reading a lot of the manga that they have. I also do have Libby, and I have a few titles that I purchased from DL Site recently. So yeah, I think I'm going to be good on manga, and I'll definitely give you some more updates on what I'm reading, what I'm recommending, and all that stuff. And then when I come back from Japan, you'll get some more US library updates. So if you're brand new to my channel, make sure to subscribe. And I hope you guys are excited for all the Japan content because there will be a lot. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you very soon in my next video. Bye bye!